So how do we recognize the difference between something in our culture that actually is constructive in the way that it maybe guides us or restricts us? Yeah? And it might be, don't drink too much, or don't be reckless, don't drive too fast, these kind of things that are sensible, they're good to have. And the things that are actually oppressive. So they may be oppressing us for a particular reason. All your typical reasons of discrimination. Age, gender, sexual orientation, race, all of this kind of stuff. Where we feel an oppression or a restriction on us that isn't warranted, but we may still bend to that. Yeah? So we may not feel, let's say, legitimate or worthy or strong enough to be able to take a stand in that if that oppressive force is too strong. So in the midst of an energy like that, we no longer have free choice. We're just trying to survive something. So like for you guys, you have the experience of moving country. Coming to a completely different culture, with different values, just different how we do things. And how do we do that? Same, we're sitting in a room, we have different ages, different genders in here. So how does that blend that we all get to be ourselves? And it sort of feels like that's our kind of constant battle, maybe, in how we live. Different aspects of things, like you were speaking about your ex-husband the other night, and his values being Muslim, and how he wants that teaching to be followed by your children. And you can feel where there's a conflict in that. Yeah? This is a really typical example, because it stayed on my mind after we spoke. So we all have these things, A lot of us here grew up with Catholic values or Christian values. They have particular kind of structure and rules that say yes and say no to certain things. So we have a starting point, but how do we really have free choice beyond that? So how do we make it less messy? So if I was to ask, how many of you feel able to freely choose how you are in any situation, without feelings of guilt if you do something that feels right for you, or feeling able to kind of clearly know what feels true to you, right for you, or needed for you, in any situation, any time? Would you say, yeah, some of the time, hardly any of the time? It's hard to be above 90% consistent with it, isn't it? Because in any system that we're in, so whether it's a workplace environment, it might be our family, our friends group, they all have a particular system of, it can be values or it can be norms or things like that we're existing within, that restricts our ability to be who we are. Is this feeling true? Mm-hmm. So it's not such an easy thing to be able to be fully ourselves and allow that the world adjusts around us rather than the other way around. Because most of our experiences, we encounter the world, we encounter the culture of something, and we adjust in order to feel sort of okay in that. We're adjusting our footing, we're adjusting our position, maybe even our values or our actions, our choices, based on what that system might allow us to do or not allow us to do. So I'm offering you, I guess, the possibility to think a little bit wider than that, of how we give ourselves that freedom of choice, that kind of liberation. That no matter what system or what structure we're in, that we feel quite free in that. And it's the freedom to choose right by it.